We've got so much to cover when we do this on Thursdays that, I think it's important to like get here on time and just, boom, boom, boom. You guys know what to do? Right back. Okay.
I guess I'll begin. So we had our design for life and access. I'm gonna start with saying that architecture is never neutral. There's always something about the experiences that we have with architecture that make it extinct for everybody, different. Distinct for everybody.
Yeah, what you design, what you build or what you design always has a ramification for everybody involved. So making sure you have some sort of knowledge of what examples that have led to disasters or what have led to successful, communities is key for design.
So, when we scan this, can we see this text? Because it's awfully small.
Yeah.
So you want to read? Does that help us move forward for you to read this to us?
Our question is, why is it important for students to understand how design, policy, and power shape urban redevelopment and influence through benefits or gets displaced? We want to read that's
And what are the options?
I have plenty to say, so don't worry.
Because these factors mainly affect building appearances and are not local outcomes, because they help explain how urban projects can unintentionally create inequality through displacement and gentrification, because urban redevelopment outcomes are random and cannot be understood or predicted to the only architecture architects influence redevelopment, not policy or economic forces.
I don't know what was said about the sentence. Yeah. I was just talking about like the sound, it's like basically discussion problem and you've got a question to that and answer the question.
Sensing a trend.
It's a clear, there is a clear trend here.
So even before all the data's in,
No.
what conclusions do you draw?
Is that for us or for everybody?
For you?
For us, I think. That there's not just one force that's driving the decision that we feel. It's not like the last question. It's not just like the architects. It's everything that goes into it that drives our opinions.
I was going to say that it goes into there's a lot of factors that go into making a project happen, and designers are just part of it. And people like city planners and like city council and people who actually approve projects are the ones that decide the outcomes, I think.
So how does that sentence change when you remove the diminutive of just? Right? Designers are just part of the process. It's the city planners, the city council, they're the ones who determine things.
Yeah.
The outcomes. What if you remove the word just, so you don't diminish, so you don't say us designers, we're not important. What if you said that sentence again without the word just? Can you say it again without the word just? Do you remember what you said?
I could use the word only instead of
Well, you could get rid of the word only. You could remove anything that would diminish the role of architects. Because the rest, the rest of the public, they're not part of the process, right? They're not in the room. Architects are in the room. Architects have a job to imagine possibilities that broaden the scope of for the others on the team.
Well, what I could say is that designers are the ones who can stretch the limits of whatever zoning code or whatever the policies that are in the city. And yeah.
So do you see what just happened there? We went from saying, not my job. I'm just a simple architect in this big hostile world, who am I?
Yeah.
Right? All of a sudden you flip that and you say, oh, I'm a designer. It is my job. If I don't do it, no one else is going to do it. It is my job to expand what others believe are possible.
In the same line, let me read the one who won. And I'm gonna challenge you to select the word that we can change to ask us for more agency in our projects. I mean, architects. Is that okay? I will read that. So what is the word that I can change or eliminate that will invite us to have more agency in our design? It says, the one who won, because they help explain how urban projects can unintentionally create inequality through displacement and gentrification. What is the word that I have changed here?
Unintentionally.
Unintentionally, yes. Is it unintentional that the project creates inequality, or is it intentional?
Intentional.
We are the designers. We have agency there. That's following the same line of thinking of Robert. So the question here, so because if we say that it's unintentional or many people can influence, so we have nothing to do. It's not in our hands. It's not our fault. We're good. So how we can be more agents? That's the
And
this condition.
the word unintentional is a trick.
Yeah.
The word natural is a trick. When someone says to you, oh, it's only natural that that communities of immigrants would like to live together in enclaves. It's only natural. You are being tricked. You are being lied to. When they say unintentional, the unintended consequences of these things. And the news this week is full of, there's a huge transformation occurring in the United States, and the excuse being used is it's an unintended consequence that there will no longer be any representatives in the House of Representatives of the U.S. government. There will no longer be a single Black member of the House of Representatives. Well, that's an unintended consequence of the Supreme Court ruling. It's not intentional, right? So when the word unintentional or natural or these types of terms, your ears should prick up and you should look at it more closely. So, and the same is true for talking about in the profession, the design professions, when we're talking about gentrification happening. It's just natural. What are we supposed to do? Make our neighborhoods worse to avoid gentrification? No, but there are things we can do, and it's up to us to figure out what those things are.
Yeah. So we'll have 1 minute for this part of the session. Any reaction of you guys who prepared this? Any thing that you need? We have to learn. We have to listen to you. Your last.
I mean, I just find it interesting that everybody picked the same answer. No one wanted to be different. Just pick different answers. I don't know if I don't have a specific one.
Okay, but do you think that was intentional or unintentional?
Well, I think it was intentional for us to pick that one, but I find it interesting that everybody also got the same.
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were not prepared for this output?
No, I thought there was gonna be a variety, even though I wanted that in.
Yeah, so probably, and again, we are learning here. Don't feel bad about that. Probably, this survey is a little biased.
Yeah.
So probably the survey is telling us what's wanted. So and one of the many reasons because we're doing this exercise is for us to learn how to engage with the public, with the authors. So I think this is very good, the tool to use. The idea of having a pool is really good. So probably if you have to do that again, what should be the answer in order to prevent this bias? Because I agree. When this happened, that happened to me with many times when I do surveys. And when that happens, you say, oh, I should do something different because it's bias in the end. Yeah. What else? Okay, so you know what is your role now. So you have to be sure that we answered whatever we discussed here during the class. And at the end, before 5 minutes before the end, 11:40, we will give you the word and you will come with the final conclusions. And why not certain ideas for the analysis? So what you can address after this discussion on Tuesday. And then after that, you have to complete a report in the third slide, Mentimeter, about your main conclusions. The same, the main thing that you stated at the end. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. So please remember, if your tag is here, if you don't have a tag, come to talk to us. I'm gonna give you. Yeah. We need you to have your tag with you. Okay.
Okay.
What is the best? I want to see them.
Yeah.
You see the screen there? Visible? Not there. They probably be. Okay.
So first of all, thank you for allowing me to join you late this semester. Thank you, Ignacio. It means a lot to me. Let's get right into it.
Also, you learn a lot from Java, so you have to teach us what you learn.
Well, I had this kind of transformative experience this past month, in part because I was asked to give a public lecture about the relationship between history and theory. And it really helped me clarify how I'm going to present this lecture. So I've changed this lecture from previous years. And so the biggest change is this first part. I've added this first part. What theory do we need? So this question comes from the realization, and why are the laptops open? Do we have a no laptop policy?
Oh, yeah, we fix it.
Yeah, let's close laptops.
Some of them are taking notes in the iPad, and I say that's okay.
On the iPad.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not speaking until all laptop. Okay. All right. And maybe put them away. Maybe put those laptops away. We started a couple of years ago making our lecture space device free. And the first sound we heard from students was like, when am I going to get my studio work done? The second sound we heard from students was a widespread thank you. Thank you for making our lecture time device free, because it's so distracting when someone near me is working on the Rhino model or playing solitaire. That it's actually a lot of your colleagues, maybe you, feel like, oh, thank God. This is a rare moment where I can just focus on what's happening around me. So we've been encouraged to keep enforcing this policy. So when we teach the history of architecture, or in this case, the history of cities, we don't, there is a historical record that we refer to. And the historical record is available to us to pull from. But we don't have time. We don't have time to go through the entire historical record. We have to be extremely selective about what we choose to look at. The filter we use to select specific moments of truth in the history of cities, we select those items according to a theory. And the theory that we use to select moments of history to look at in this course, the lens is, we look at it, we try our best to look at it from your perspective, not your perspective this week or today or this morning. We try to look at it through your eyes in the future, in the year 2050. In the year 2050, what do you wish we had done with your precious, scarce time back in 2026? That's the lens. And the lens is the theory. So we're pursuing a theory of history, a theory of the history of cities. So in this theory emerges from this journey. So some of us believe that in the year 2050, the biggest challenges that are going to face you and other design professionals is the climate crisis. And so we look at the literature of the climate crisis. This used to be the first reading that we did. This is a candidate. No, thank you. But these are the most recent books that try to theorize the history of the climate crisis. And the conclusion that they overwhelmingly reach is, yeah, there's really nothing we can do. And it's very depressing. And then the thing that is our reading, it's the article by David Wallace Wells that was one of the readings last week. And again, there's a sense of, yeah, there are forces, there are certain things people can do on the margins. You can recycle, you can go vegetarian, you can reduce the amount of beef, you can insulate your house, you can take mass transit. But really, in terms of the big dimensions, there's not much we can do. So these theories, these are not attractive theories for looking at history. And so some of us keep looking. We look at Jared Diamond. His theory is, listen, he asks the question famously of his undergraduates every semester. He tells the story of Easter Island, a civilization that owes its remarkable accomplishments to the fact that they had huge trees on Easter Island that allowed them to create these ocean navigating canoes, outrigger canoes, to travel throughout the Pacific region. And what happened is they ran out of those big trees, and then the society collapsed. And this is the cartoon version of it. It's been revised. It hasn't been quite that way. Jared Diamond's conclusion is, if only they had an anthropologist. If they had an anthropologist, the anthropologist could have told them, don't cut down your trees. It will lead to the collapse of your society. Well, he's an anthropologist. He serves on the board of directors of Walmart to tell them, don't cut down your trees. But a lot of us think he is wrong in extremely dangerous ways. The last tree was cut down. He imagines the last tree was cut down by some criminal, because who would do such a thing? Who would be such a monster? But those of us who live in this world, we understand that the person who cut down the last tree was either the king, or if he wasn't king, he then became king, because that last tree was the most valuable thing in their society. And so if Jimmy didn't cut down the tree, that last tree, if Jimmy said, oh no, I don't want to cut down the last tree, and then Cynthia said, I don't want to cut down the last tree, that would just be wrong. You go through 99 people who say, oh, it's immoral to cut down the last tree. The number 100 says, all right, this is my chance. I'm cutting down the last tree. No matter what, that last tree is going down. Because whoever cuts down that last tree is going to be the wealthiest, most powerful person in their society. So this is the reason I'm going into this, is that the filter that is useful for us to look at history is the filter of how do operating systems operate? What is the role of architecture in the operation of these larger systems? So the rules of the operating system on Easter Island were whoever behaves the worst benefits the most. When that's the rule of the operating system, does the last tree stand? There's no chance that that last tree is going to survive. There's no chance for the trees to survive. So if you project that forward into our space, Naomi Klein, Roy Stanton, David Wallace Wells, they're all reaching the conclusion, listen, there's nothing that can be done. If only there was a United Nations government and the United Nations could pass a law and the United Nations could punish people for bad behavior, that's the only way we could stop the climate crisis, right? There's no other mechanism to organize collective human behavior capable of pushing back against the climate crisis. And the tragedy of the commons that was mentioned last Thursday is the dominant paradigm. But I think they're wrong. If we look at the operating system, there is an operating system in the absence of the United Nations. There is an operating system by which human behavior is organized in a very collective manner. It's a ubiquitous operating system. It spans the entire globe. Doesn't matter if it's communist China or capitalist United States or anything in between. Every society on the planet is operating through the same operating system. We're absolutely unified in this. And that operating system is whoever behaves the worst benefits the most. Whoever extracts the most from the planet and dumps the most garbage into the atmosphere, the ocean, or the landfill, they are going to make the most money because we have systematically prevented societies from putting a price, appropriate price on extraction that would keep some resources in the ground. And we have systematically failed to put a price on dumping. So dumping is free. Dumping is very, very low cost. Extraction is very, very low cost. So the operating system says whoever extracts the most and dumps the most wins, they get the most money. So under those circumstances, you can figure out who in the classroom is the most ethically responsible person. You could elect them to be the chairman of ExxonMobil and see what happens. Well, unless you change the operating system that governs the behavior of ExxonMobil, nothing will change. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I'm debating myself if I open a debate or discussion or not. But probably I can do what I suggest you to do. If you have any doubts, you can raise your hand. If you move away the presentation, that's fine. The presentations are there. I have a question for you. Because that's things that really move me. So you know that is a famous book by Max Weber that he connects Protestantism, ethic, and capitalism.
The 1928.
If I don't remember the name.
You're the next guy.
Yeah.
Max Weber. Okay.
Yeah. So he said that basically the fact that if you earn money, so it makes you a better person. That's the ethic. Because
that would be nice.
Yeah, so you are earning more.
Let's do that.
So yeah, so why didn't work? So supposedly if you earn money, it's because you're doing something that people likes, and then when people like that, they will buy that thing.
That's so cute.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But why this is wrong? I think that makes sense.
Well, systems evolve. The rules of the operating system evolve to benefit those who have power. So Adam Smith wrote about capitalism in 1776, a long time ago. And he said all these wonderful things about capitalism under the conditions when there's lots and lots of competition, lots of different people producing things, and consumers have a lot of choice. And so whoever produces the best product for the lowest price, they are rewarded by consumers by a lot of consumption of the best products for the lowest price. That's great. Those are the ideal conditions of Adam Smith free market capitalism. But since then, a lot has changed. We now have close to monopoly conditions in every significant industry. Why is your phone plan, how much do you pay for your phone plan per month? We don't know because your parents pay, but it's $40. It's $30 to $40 a month per phone. Why is that 10 to 100 times more expensive than what people pay in other countries? It's because of monopoly capitalism. There are so few carriers, and they work it out amongst themselves to charge more or less the same amount, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. Whereas in other countries, there's a more of a free market situation, so they compete for the lowest price. So we can go to the deepest, darkest part of sub-Saharan Africa where people are living on $3 a day, and they have a smartphone. They live on $3 a day and they have a smartphone? Wait a minute. How can they afford $40 a month for a smartphone? That's a third of their income. Well, they don't pay that much. They pay $1 a month for their smartphone. So the operating systems have changed.
Yeah, thank you.
And but what does that have to do with architecture? Architecture is part of the operating system. And you remember in History Theory 2, we don't have time to go into it, but I'm just going to recall, and you saw it last week, the slide with the slave ship. The slave ship, we know that race is a construct. We all, that's race is a construct, race is a construct. Okay. How did race get constructed? Architecture. The architecture of the slave ship was a machine for producing race construction. Nicole Hannah-Jones has written beautifully about this in the 1619 Project, that members of multiple different societies throughout the Horn of Africa are collected and brought together and put in this machine of race construction, the slave ship, and they're placed below deck. They don't know each other. They don't even speak the same language. They don't worship the same gods, but yet all of them are in the dark under the hull, under the deck of the slave ship. And above the deck, there's all kinds of different people, but those are non-slaves, the non-enslaved and the enslaved. Now that deck is defining who is enslaved and who is not enslaved. It's a machine for constructing race. And we see it today. We've constructed this new category of those who can protest in the No King's Day rallies and those who don't dare because they have an accent. So there's a new dividing line of who can occupy public space. This dividing line is constructed in public space by the presence of ICE officers, et cetera. So there's a constant renegotiation of the mechanisms by which these social forces operate. The operating system, the rules of the operating system play out in one way or another to a large extent because of the constructs of architecture and urban form. So this is big. We're going to be struggling with this all semester, but this is the basic outline. So enter the idea of game theory. So a big part of the challenge of this course is every Tuesday to bring in a presentation of a formal spatial institutional arrangement. Wait, what did he say? Formal, spatial? Okay, I got formal. There are buildings. Okay, I got that. Spatial. Oh yeah, so I guess the the spaces between buildings, the public space of the street. Okay, the formal and the spatial, I got that. I'm comfortable with that. That's what architects do. That's what I've been doing for my time here at Wentworth. I got that. But wait a minute, what's that third term he said? Institutional arrangements? This is the hardest part. If there's an urban setting, like the city of Copenhagen. Wait, I'm gonna postpone this to when I have an actual example. So I'm not supposed to say anything that I'm not showing you. But the challenge for Tuesdays is to identify a formal, spatial, institutional arrangement, and then to lay it out, to dissect it, to analyze it for us, so that we see how the relationship between forms and spaces and institutions. What are the rules of these institutions? How are these institutional relationships informing how the buildings and the public realm are operating to produce certain conditions? Sometimes immigrant communities, like the one in Stockholm that I'm thinking of, I don't think I have a slide of it. They make people feel like they belong by occupying the public space with monuments to different immigrant group identities. So all of a sudden, what feels like a hostile environment can all of a sudden become transformed into an inviting, accepting, this is my community. So the institutional arrangements have a way of transforming the meaning of public space. So game theory. The systems are established in a way that invite us to simply accept them. The way we were talking about in the what's the point group. The forces operating in society want us all to believe that there's nothing we can do. It's our job, each and every one of us, to say, okay, maybe we can't, it's not easy, maybe we can't do whatever we want, but let's counter that with the question, is there an opportunity to do something? Is there one thing we can do as designers? That's our job. That is your job. Is there one thing we can do as designers that appears before us because we've accepted the fact that architecture and urban form is the machinery of the operating system. The operating system operates according to the built environment. The built environment is a machine for the operating system. And you should challenge me to show you that. But in the meantime, we've introduced the idea of game theory. Once you understand that architecture is part of the operating system, and you can identify the rules of the operating system. We don't build housing for poor people. We build in the United States, we build luxury housing. We're architects. That's what we do. That's the rules of the operating system. What opportunities are there to game the system? And so here's an example of game theory. The clearest example of game theory is the prisoner's dilemma. Who's heard of the prisoner's dilemma? Did we talk about it last week?
No.
No, okay. It goes something like this. Two players are, well, I think we have a video that does a better job of explaining it than I do. Oh, we need sound. Okay, we're gonna have a technical. I know how to do this.
Then they'll have to turn on the volume as well.
Yeah.
Oh, it's right there.
Separates the pros from the amateurs.
Hey, Mr. Blue and Miss Red have each been arrested for some minor crime. The police think they committed a more serious crime, but they don't have enough evidence to convict them. They need a confession. They take them and put them in separate rooms so they can't talk and play a little game. To try to force a confession, the police give them each a choice. Admit your partner committed the crime and you'll go free. We'll pardon you for the minor crime, but your partner will have to spend 3 years in prison. If you stay silent and your partner lets us know that you were the one who really did it, then you're gonna have to go away for 3 years. They know that the police don't have any evidence, and if they both stay silent, then they will only go to prison 1 year each for the minor crime. If they both betray each other, then they'll both go to prison for 2 years each. Okay, each partner can do one of two things: stay silent or betray. Staying silent would be cooperating and betraying would be defecting. If they both stay silent, then they each spend a year in prison. If one betrays and the other stays silent, then the betrayer goes free and the silent spends 3 years in prison. If they both betray, then it's 2 years each. So what are they going to do? Well, they should cooperate. That's the best option for the group if we add total number of years in prison. But let's take it from Red's perspective. If she thinks Blue is going to stay silent, then she should betray so she can go free. Going free is better than spending a year in prison. If she thinks he's going to betray her, then she should definitely betray. 2 years in jail is better than 3 and being made a fool of. Blue is in the exact same situation and will think the exact same thing. He should betray if she stays silent, and he should betray if she betrays. They should have both cooperated, but from an individual standpoint, they notice they could always gain by defecting if they have no control over what the other person's going to do. So they'll both defect to try to better their own situation, but come away not only hurting the group, but themselves. Individually, they're worse off than if they both cooperated. This situation is pretty made up, but it has some real world.
Yeah, so to follow this along, we're asking you to understand that this is how companies work. Companies who want to do the right thing, and then do the right thing, they're the first ones who go out of business. So by doing the right thing, they're putting themselves at a disadvantage, a competitive disadvantage to the other companies, and so they disappear. And so that's the operating system within which companies are making decisions about whether to reduce greenhouse gas emissions or not. And so the rules of the system are rigged against positive outcomes. That's why so many authors feel that this is futile. The prisoner's dilemma is a game theory example that helps us understand the dilemma that companies are facing. Now I'm going to show you another thing where they've taken the prisoner's dilemma and they've made it into a game show. And the game show is very predictable. You really know, maybe you've seen this because this is fairly popular on YouTube. Oh, that video is not available. So the game show goes something like this.
Abraham, I want you to trust me.
So I
It's
don't.
a tough one.
So the videos that lay out this is a golden egg thing where each contestant has two golden eggs, and it's basically structured by the same 2x2 grid as the prisoner's dilemma. If both contestants say they want to split the 40,000 pound prize, then they each get 20,000 pounds. If one of them says split and the other one says steal, the one who says split gets nothing, the one who says steal gets 30,000 pounds, or they get the whole 40,000 pounds. So it's the same as the prisoner's dilemma. If they both say steal, then they both get nothing. So the game unfolds like this. They talk to each other, and it's the job of each contestant to convince the other person that they can be trusted, that they're going to choose split, which is the best outcome for the group. And then, because of the structure of the incentives, you say, trust me, I'll do split. You just do split and I'll do split, and we'll both get 20,000 pounds. And then instead of doing split, you say steal, because you then just tricked the person. And this is the drama that plays out every week, week after week. until this week.
Sorry, I want to be sure that you got the rules of the game. How to split, you get it? Okay, because this is very important. for
Yeah,
them to understand.
trust me, I'm gonna say split.
Yeah.
It's the best thing for everybody. But then they don't. Until now.
We've lost everything. Nonsense. We're walking away. Abraham, I want you to trust me. 100%, I'm going to pick the steel ball.
Sorry,
I'm going to choose the steel ball.
you're gonna take.
I want you to do split, and I promise you that I will split the money with you.
Well, after you took the steel.
Yeah,
You're going to take steel.
yeah,
I'm gonna take split.
yeah,
So you take the money
and I will split it with you.
after the show.
Yeah. I promise you I'll do that. If you do steal, we both walk away with nothing. I'm telling you 100% I'm going to do it.
I appreciate that. Right, I'll give you another alternative. Why don't we just both pick split?
I'm not going to pick split. I'm going to steal. Abraham, honestly, 100% going to steal.
It's in your nature to steal.
No, I'm honest, and I'm going to tell you.
You're
that
an honest
I am. That's why I'm telling you I'm going to steal. If you do split, then I will split the
I
money.
can't see myself doing that.
Okay, well I'm going to steal, so we're going to leave with nothing.
Where's your brains coming from? I can't work out.
I know that I'm a decent guy, and I will split the money with you.
Well, we should just both split then.
No, I'm going to do steal.
There is no
No, I know there is. I know there is.
He's panicking. Is this the end of the game though?
Now, let me tell you what my word
This
is.
works.
My father once said to me, a man who doesn't keep his word is not a man.
This is the pre-rehearsed speech to get him to trust
I
me.
agree. So, Abraham, I'm going to steal. But so you've got the choice. You either steal, and we both walk away with nothing. Because you know, I've told you my intention, and I've told you that I will split the money with you, Abraham.
If I gave my word that I was going to split, I would split. And you're going to take steal.
So what do you think happens?
It's a tough one.
We've lost it. We've lost everything.
Nonsense.
We're walking away with no money because you're in India.
No, that's not.
You're in India. That's not right. You're in India. You're in India. That's not enough.
split or steal.
Yes, congratulations, you're both students at Access.City26. £6,900.
So he gamed the system. So these constructs, like the prisoner's dilemma and this game show and the environment, the incentive structure governing the environment, driving the environmental crisis. These are artificial constructs that we can model because we're architects, we're good at modeling, right? So we can model these systems and we can understand them to the point where we can then game the system. Are we okay? So I'm going to skip Curitiba. You talked about Curitiba. I'm going to skip Barcelona. Plenty of time for Barcelona. Some of you will go to Barcelona, so we can skip that.
If they are not going, what happens?
I,
They will go sometime in time.
yeah. You'll pick it up.
Yes, we'll do Barcelona.
You're just going to be Barcelona.
I'm gonna
right?
do Barcelona.
You're going to do Barcelona.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're good. So we'll just skip forward 50 slides and we'll go to Medellin, Colombia. This is Designing for Life. Medellin, Colombia. You may have heard of Medellin, Colombia. These are the most dangerous cities in the world today. The most dangerous city in the world today is a lot of the most dangerous cities are in Mexico, Ecuador, South Africa, Mexico, Ecuador. Wow. Ecuador, Mexico, South Africa, the most dangerous cities in the world. The most dangerous city in the world today has 182 murders per 100,000 people this year. Okay, pretty dangerous, right?
Nice to see Boston not on the board.
Boston's not on the board, but we do have US cities. We have Memphis. Is that Baltimore there?
It should be Baltimore.
I think it's Baltimore. US has some of the most dangerous cities in the world.
Camden, New Jersey is the worst.
This is Medellin, Colombia in 1993. 391 murders per 100,000 people, more than double the murder rate of the most dangerous city in the world today. Yes.
Well, I don't mean to offend anybody that lives in Camden, but I know that I think the most dangerous city that I've heard a lot in the US itself is Camden, New Jersey. And
So maybe they're suppressing the statistics. Camden really is the most dangerous
I've
place.
heard a lot of things about Camden and it's not the best.
But nothing compared to Medellin, Colombia in 1993. Have you heard of Pablo Escobar? Have you heard of Narcos, that series about Pablo Escobar? So Medellin was an exceptionally dangerous place in the world to live.
In the year 2004, we got into power. We were a group of people coming from different sectors of society who have created a civic independent movement. And we had perfectly clear what we wanted to do once in power, to fight the social inequalities and the violence that we have had in our city. And we needed the formula, the recipe, in order to face those challenges. Decrease violence, and whenever we decrease violence, then we immediately came up with the social opportunities. Those social opportunities were centered about education. How education, understood in a broad sense, which meant education, science, technology, development of productive activities, culture, all those things together should be the way we should go in order to become a better, much better society.
Sounds so simple, right? Easy, right? It's obvious. This is an obvious formula for success. But wait, what's the context of Medellin, Colombia in 2004 when he gets elected? There's a power plant that produces enough electricity to power the entire region of Colombia and neighboring countries. And so the city of Medellin owns this power generating facility. And the corporate charter requires the city of Medellin to take something like $900 million a year and bring it into its budget and support infrastructure development for the citizens of the city of Medellin. $900 million used to be a lot of money and still is in some parts of the world. So the system, but the operating system, that's the way it was supposed to operate. But like many operating systems, they are subject to corruption. And so the system was corrupted. So $900 million would not go to the people. It went to the government officials, would basically just divide that up and become extremely wealthy. And so the first thing he had to do was run for mayor with the promise that he was going to stop the corruption that took that $900 million and it was just lost. And he was actually going to construct infrastructure for the people of Medellin. Okay, already that's radical. But there's a second thing. When a mayor builds infrastructure for the people of their city, who benefits? Like if it's Boston, who benefits from the construction projects of the city of Boston? Yeah, go ahead.
Construction workers.
Construction workers, definitely. But who are the projects for? Like the big tunnel, who's that for? It's for the commuters, right? Improvements, you name it, improvements to cities tend to benefit the people who are already pretty well off. And so the second radical thing that they did was, instead of designing sweetheart infrastructure projects for the wealthiest people in Medellin, Fajardo and his team said, okay, listen, wealthy people, you're doing okay, right? But think how much money you're spending on security guards. think how much money it costs you for the private schools for your children and the armed guards to drive your children to and from school. Think of all that, the quality of life, how horrible life in Medellin is because of all the crime and the homicide. Every one of you are subject to kidnapping and ransom. Wouldn't it be great if the threat of kidnapping and ransom were just a little less? How about this? How about you just take a back seat for a few years? And instead of demanding all these luxury things from the $900 million, why don't we give it to someone else? And so in the United States, we might take a similar approach. We don't give it to the wealthiest 1%. We would give it to the next 20%. That's how we would do it. But Fajardo's and his team skipped over the 1%, skipped over the next 19%, skipped over the next 40%, and they made a map that showed where the dead bodies piled up overnight. Every night there'd be a crew to clean up the dead bodies. And so they just mapped where were the most dead bodies showing up. And that's the community that got the investment. So they cleared this site of the bodies and they built they had an architecture competition. They asked the people what they needed. And they first there was a winner, and then the winner had to meet with the community. And the community said, no, we don't want that. We want a third one. And by the way, we need a way to get down to our opportunities in town. So unironically, they took a luxury ski lift. And they built a luxury ski lift from the new state-of-the-art subway system, the bottom of the valley. And they made it the 2-hour walk down to the subway system now is a 15-minute luxury ski lift ride. So they gave the highest quality infrastructures to the poorest communities of the city. And this was not just architecture. This is not the Guggenheim, it's not the Bilbao effect where the architects saved the city. No, this was a collaboration between the formal spatial arrangements and the institutional arrangements. This became a vehicle for job training, after school, homework clubs, social organizations, community empowerment activities. All of a sudden, these drug soldiers who were being defeated in the jungles and coming back to Medellin with their AK-47s and no job skills other than shooting really well. They were given training, they were given investment money to start businesses. And so this was not just the architecture was a vehicle. And this vehicle convinced people that it was possible. The school children who parents used to say, don't go to school today, I don't want you to die going to and from. And by the way, don't lay on the bed, go under the bed because those bullets go right through the walls of these shanties. Well, it's a different life. We get to go learn how to use computers. So I'm going to skip a lot of this. And so this is the game theory. This is how Fajardo and his team gamed the system, made it so safe that in 2014, after Fajardo, let me just say, Wentworth is part of this story. Mayors are only allowed to serve for 4 years, so he stepped down from being mayor of Medellin. And because he's friends of Manuel Delgado, whose name you will hear again during this course, Manuel Delgado was on the faculty here until 2022. And Delgado said, hey, I'm going to call up my friend Sergio Fajardo and ask him to come to Wentworth, along with a bunch of architects and planners from Medellin and Caracas. And so he came and he explained this whole strategy to Wentworth students and faculty. And it was the first place he came out of Colombia when he stepped down, and he was running for governor of the province. And ever since then, he's been a candidate for president of Colombia. But he came to Wentworth to explain how this works. And so this was one library park. During Fajardo's 4-year term, he did this 5 times. He made 5 of them. And because it worked, the voters of Medellin required the next mayor to do the same thing. So he did 5 library parks. At this point, I think there's 20-something library parks. Here's a book that lists all of them as of 2014. 2014 is the year I needed desperately to figure out what was going on here. So I did what one does. I applied for a sabbatical, applied for funding, and I moved my family to Medellin, Colombia, and we lived there for 4 months. And the key ingredient to this, and you can't really see it in the slide, but these state-of-the-art luxury libraries, there's no wall, there's no chain link fence dividing this from the self-constructed neighborhoods. These people, the kids, they pour out of their self-constructed homes and go to the library and hang out there with their friends. Then they go to school, and then after school, they come back. It's part of the community. There's no physical separation. And institutionally, it belongs to this community. They have a sense of ownership. Since then, there's been some problems with funding, keeping it open long enough. But we learned the lesson that it's not so much the social collapse of criminal activity, the drug wars. It's the capacity for collective design processes to deliver dignity to the people who most desperately need it. And it can be transformative. And this is now a blueprint that is available to everyone in the world to emulate and translate somehow into our own design experience, because you are facing some pretty serious challenges in 2050, including social collapse, even here in the United States. Social collapse is happening. It's not as bad as Medellin yet, but it's happening. So what is the solution? Well, in a way, we're not special anymore. The United States is no longer this special enclave where we're the exception to the rule. We are part of the same struggles that everybody is facing in the world, in every country. If you call Colombia a third world country, well, what does that make us? The US in many ways meets the characteristics of what we used to call third world countries. So we are all Colombians now. And these solutions that were developed out of these extreme situations, this extreme crisis, we're not in as extreme a crisis yet, but the solutions are viable. The solutions are worth understanding because it is a clear example of how architecture and urban form is part of the operating system. And when you understand the operating system in a deep way, opportunities emerge for gaming the system and making it do the things we need it to do. And to a large extent, if you had a chance to look at the thesis projects that were presented a month ago now, more than a month ago, in April, you see project after project that are examples of this, of students deeply understanding the problem space, not just as a site and a program and a client, but in terms of the rules of the operating system. And they are developing projects that open up opportunities and compelling a shift in the way the system operates. And it's really a beautiful thing to witness and to feel like we are a part of. This is La Carlota. I don't want to take away, this is time. Do you think it's worth talking about?
Let's talk about like 5-10 minutes.
Okay.
Makes sense. Because there is a second part of the story that I have to say, we can transition here. So let me tell my story here, can I?
Please.
So the reason because I am here today is because Sergio Fajardo came to this school in 2020.
2008.
2008. So what happened there is that there was a second time, several rounds of a scholar from Venezuela and Colombia coming here, and I was one of them in 2012. So I was in 2012 living with my family in Venezuela, Caracas, and I came to Wentworth, and I'm not kidding, I said I want to teach there. And after that, I applied to a PhD, and I got that, and I came, and that's usually because we are here, because of Manuel Delgado, and you are here. So, but the beautiful thing is that everything that Manuel learned from Medellin, he applied to one particular case, which is a competition in La Carlota, Caracas. So La Carlota used to be an air base. That is basically a military air base in the middle of the city, and there was an international competition to transform that into a public park. And Manuel decided to make a team with Colombians who worked before in Medellin.
With Sergio Fajardo.
I'm Sergio Fajardo and Alejandro Echeverri and all of his teams. And actually, I have to say that I was one of competitors. I competed in that competition. That was 2012, I believe.
Yeah.
And I lost. Manuel won the competition. Was really proud.
But your team was semifinalists.
Yeah. So the beautiful thing here is that at the end there were 100 and something competitors around the world. There were 7 finalists, and these 7 finalists. Actually, I now remember the story. There was another process, and finally, Manuel Delgado won the competition. He did a better job. What he did, and this is a great learning from all of us, is that he invited all the 7 finalists to Wentworth in the summer of 2012. And he learned from us everything that we did in our projects. And he changed his project. I would say he improved his project, including all of our ideas.
He stole their ideas.
He stole my ideas, and I was really happy.
Shamelessly. He invited the finalists to present their ideas so that he could incorporate them into the next evolution of the winning.
Yeah, and at that time I remember that so in the summer, instead of having there was different curriculum, was happening Studio 7 urbanism. In the summer, or Nixon Studio instead of comprehensive. So we thought we were professors in the program. Well, also so I was teaching for free, and at the same time,
we were giving you housing.
Would you give me free housing? Yeah, and
in the dorms,
and a gift card.
And a gift card. We gave you a gift card.
Yeah. So
you're welcome.
So, but what I want to say here is that sometimes great projects come through collaboration. So the project that we'll see here today is a combination of his ideas, Medellin's ideas, and the ideas that are the combination of ideas of many of us who competed that piece, and we put our ideas there for the benefits of the park. So basically, if you see the park used to be that one, that was short. That used to be the parking, the air base, and you have several quebradas, creeks,
ravines,
that comes down through the city. So they transform in the project. These and the ravines and the streets into the armatures that connect the cities in a road. So many things that you will see in good projects, and this is a message for you on Tuesday, is the way you connect to provide the city, make the city more accessible for everybody. It's a good tool to provide designing for life and to have more equitable cities. So you'll have this presentation you're ready. We invite you to see this in detail. It's a project that basically tries to use the park as an excuse to stitch the whole thing.
And you've seen this in the news a few months ago. You just imagine, ready?
Yeah, there was.
You recognize it?
One of the places where there were, bombs in the January 3 in Venezuela.
Yeah. So it hasn't been built yet.
So So what we see here is that I told you before, so I just took note of a phrase, and I hope that this will help you for Tuesday. But Robert said, gain the city, so it's in order to the project to do what you want them to do. So what I'm trying to answer here, I'm doing I'm taking a risk to provide an answer is what we want the projects to do is to increase access to everybody. So what I'm trying to do today is a definition of this word that invites us to think the projects beyond their boundaries and understand how they provide access to more than one type of people in the city. So this idea of access comes from one theory. The theory is called the right to the city. Have you heard that before? The right to the city? The right to the city was created by one guy, Henry Lefebvre. So he wrote this book in 1968 called The Right to the City. That is a theory that invite us to think that the project should be designed more bottom-up than top-down, and to integrate the life of everybody into the projects. So I'm gonna try my best now in the next 30 minutes to explain what access means and how we can include that in our projects, but also that will help you, hopefully, to select the best project that you can select for Tuesday. Any question for me? Okay, I want to take a risk here. Raise your hand and give me your own definition of access. What is access in architecture? Peter.
It's being able to effectively and consistently interact with something very physically or engage with it mentally.
Yeah. So have you listened to him? So basically, it's how we interact mentally and physically in the space. Actually, I don't know. The beauty of this definition is that it's connected to the definition of ecology, as we discussed before last week. The ecology as a way with the ecology defined in a way that we create interaction, or we define interaction between the environments and people. How we can increase accessibility in this interaction is something that we are trying to do. But talking a little bit about history, I want to tell you why access became so important. Do you recognize this image? History theory 2, I guess. This is the famous CM grid, International Congress for Modern Architecture, Le Corbusier and their teams. So this grid became a symbol of top-down design in urbanism. So where architects were able to create a grid and divide districts in different skills and with different topics and assigning different strategies for each one. And you believe that in the office, you can design everything for the people because we are the smart guys in the world. So we can be together in an office and we redesign how the people should believe and should control. That worked very well in the world since the beginning of architecture until 1968. That's the truth.
Did it?
Yeah. In 1968, it's still working. Come on, the system is still operating into its way. But in 1968, there was a big collapse that invites us to think that this is not really working. You know what happened in 1968? Take a guess. I don't know if you know that. What happened in 1968? Specifically in May of 1968. Do you have any idea? So 1968 was the year of was trending of protests, civil protests, citizen protests around the world.
Around the world.
Around the world.
Around the world.
So that is in Mexico. There was the Olympic in Mexico, and there was a big protest in Mexico City that actually many students were killed in that process in the La Matanza, the Tlatelolco massacre. So, but in 1968, there was a peak of protest against Vietnam in Washington, D.C. In 1968 was a big peak of women's liberations protests around the world, actually asking for equal pay, and that was solved. Now women and men are equally paid.
No, they're not.
Oh, really? They're not. Yeah, it's an ongoing issue.
83 cents on the dollar in the United States.
Yeah, it's an issue that started in 1968. In 1968,
It didn't start in 1968.
no, yeah, but it was a peak. You're right. It was a peak. Actually, Martin Luther King in 1961 or 3.
The March on Washington for Jobs and Equal Rights, I think that was 63.
63, yeah. But my point is that 68 was a peak of protest around the world.
Ask your grandparents.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that point. Yeah, nothing happened, nothing never happened in one day.
Right.
It's a process.
It's still happening.
It's still happening, yeah. Actually, I don't have to go into
Yeah.
politics. No, yeah. So before that I go into politics, I have to see if ice is around. Well, yeah, no, I don't know, no, I cannot go into politics.
There's no cameras,
Yeah,
but my laptop,
yeah, I'm scared that, yeah. So I cannot go that deep in politics, so I have this back.
right.
Yeah.
I can do it, you can't.
Yeah, do it. Can you say why we're still doing that? You can say that, I cannot.
Life.
But 1968, we have this image. You know this image? What this image is about? Black Panther movement. There was a very important and very iconic photo of the Black Panther movement asking for more racial inclusion in the US. So I'm not saying that 1968 was the year, but I think that it's one of these years that when many things happened. Yeah, very symbolically important. 1968 was French May. In France, whereas a big group of protests where students start demanding to change, to change the system. And that this is not a class about education, but this changed education around the world.
Yeah.
So this was a very important thing
Including architecture.
Sorry?
Including architecture.
Especially in architecture.
Especially.
Architecture became more social.
Yeah.
In many parts of the
And
world
more
because of that, more democratic because of that moment.
Yeah.
So my point is that when these things happen, that changed also the theory. So because of these protests around the world, and many people, even if this was happening several times during the 60s, especially during the 60s across the history. So in 1969, 1 year later, 3 books were published that, in my opinion, changed the history of architecture and participatory design. So these are 3 books written in different parts of the world. They didn't meet each other. So actually, that was before social media.
Right.
So can you tell me what have these 3 books in common? The covers. It's really evident. Yeah?
It's a person in a space.
It's a person in space.
In a box too.
It's a person in space. Actually, there was person in environment become a theory. We don't have time to discuss that, but if you want to learn about that, there is a new theory called person in environment. It's a theory of psychologies, of environmental psychologies. So in different parts of the world, the hidden dimension, the personal space by Sommer, and the architectural psychology, we realized, surprise, that the architects from the modern movement were not that right. We have to think in big. People are part of the equation. Actually, people are at the center of the equation. So that we're talking a little bit more in human-centered design. So it's not that true that architects in an office sitting around a table with a grid trying to standardize the world can decide the work and how the people live. And we have to think a little more bottom-up or inclusive or participatory design in order to understand how the life works. And these books are about that. So if you read that book, it's books trying to demand for more inclusive ways of thinking, how we provide access to people into projects. So, and in this framework was written the right to the city. I'm just trying to explain the huge framework, theoretical historic framework that because and the same year was written right to the city. Actually, he wrote first a paper, and then in 1969 was polished. That's a minor detail. So, but what he's trying to say that the spaces, urban spaces, should be shaped by and for the people. I will always remember this time one mentor that I had, a priest called Alejandro Moreno, that he said he was not an architect. He dealt with a lot of architects. He said that there are two types of architecture. I have my notes here. Architecture that are in the city versus architecture that are of the city. So they belong to the city. How we can make a building that is not only there, but also it belongs to that place comprehensively, integrally. So not only in form, but also in phenomena, in activities, in interactions. So this is basically the right to the city. How we create a building that really belongs to the city, or a system of building, or a system of spaces that are really integrated and provide an increased access to the city in many ways. And this is
like a Studio 6 question.
that sounds like a Studio 6 question. And hopefully today, are you ready for today? Are you presenting P1 today, the site analysis? The question that I invite you to ask today in the site analysis is how we can understand whatever we describe for the site in order to design a building next week that really belongs to Lowell and that increase different levels of access to Lowell. Even if, thank you for that, Robert. So even if we are designing a comprehensive design, every time that we design, that is an opportunity to increase access and to create buildings that really belongs to Lowell and to every system that happens in Lowell, every people. So this is all framed under the idea of John Rawls' theory of justice. So we are talking now about one concept that we will be talking a lot during the semester, is how we can provide just cities. Cities, not just cities, sorry.
Yeah, not just cities.
Not just cities.
It's just cities.
Yeah.
Cities that are just.
Yeah.
It's different.
It's just cities.
Just cities.
Yeah.
No.
Just cities. Yeah, probably. So it's how we create cities that have more just, and basically John Rawls. Actually, this idea of John Rawls is not about cities, it's about justice in general. He defined justice as ideals and fair distribution of valued goods. So a system is more equitable and you have more justice around a place if there is a more fair distribution of values of valued goods. Is this happening in our operating system?
That sounds like spatializing justice, not despatializing justice.
Yes, I decided not to go. Do you want me to go there? So the reason, no, I can go for a second. The reason because I brought that there is because there is a general, and that's a good. This is a general debate about if architecture has something to do with justice. There are many people that believe that no. So
it's just architecture.
We are just architects.
Yeah, we're just architects.
We are just architects.
Not architecture of
Yeah.
justice. Just architects.
Yeah. So, and actually, if you talk with many sociologists, they believe. I have to talk with. In my practice, I have to work with many sociologists, and they believe, and politicians believe, that they have to create justice in cities, and that after the city is completely, the system is completely working, then architects will create the spaces for that. So it's the opposite direction of the space of the spaces that you will discuss. That is that many politicians believe, and we have to fight against that we have to create a system that creates a culture that is just, and then after that, the architect will come to create a space for that.
Many architects believe that.
Many architects believe that.
It's not our job.
Yeah. So why not? And this is the main proposal of this class, I think.
Yeah.
This is the main proposal of the class. So I am now in my 30% guy. Do you remember the 30%? So
I already paid attention to your other.
yeah, are you paying attention?
This is going to have to be 60%.
Yeah. Okay. So if they're paying attention, I'm gonna challenge them to say my 30% now. What I will say right now is not that the culture the system, change the culture, and then we create project. If it's not like that, what it should be? What is the main purpose of this class? You're raising your hand?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Who's raising your hand? Yeah, no, sorry, you already talked, Karen.
That the project particularly the culture, so the culture changes the system.
Yeah,
Yeah,
voila.
obvious.
So obviously, we have to be humble. It's not that we change, we contribute to the change. We contribute with others to the change of the system. How we can provide this adjustment in this tweak in the system, so it's not that this facilitation of justice, so this justice is spatial. And this is what this book is about, because basically what we are discovering around the history of the humanity is that this could happen mostly through public space. So that I'm deciding today to be like take risks to have like bold statement. Justice happens. Justice in cities. Let's not say justice in cities happen through improved access, increased access to everybody, and that happens in public space. And not only in public space, we will see in Barcelona that will happen in that interaction, in that threshold, in that moment between the interior and the exterior. And this is Jane Jacobs' theory. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Remember that. So
And Weldon Priest,
and well done. Yeah, beautiful.
the threshold.
Yeah, this threshold. So our goal, and when you design, I'm saying that today loudly because one of the main deliverables that you will have in Studio 6 is a wall section. So that's the main thing that you will produce. It's a beautiful document that you will produce for your project.
Yes.
It's 1.5 wall section of your building. And you will listen from NJ in this passive and active, how you control thermal transfer. How you control thermal transfer in that threshold and that boundary. So probably invite you to ask, what other type of sociological transfers we can control, we can invite in that wall section? How this wall section help you to create a better interaction between the public and the private in order to activate the public to increase access. Come on, that was so good.
That was good.
That was good. So
That's a
I
good
got,
wall section,
yeah.
different scale.
yeah, it's a different scale. The wall section at a different scale. So I invite you to think your wall section also in the level of accessibility. Robert, I cannot say something better. Like I have to start.
No,
No,
don't stop.
no, yeah, I cannot say something better than this. Yeah, should I continue? Let me do my best. I have more slides, yeah.
Say something about
So, but what I'm trying to say here is after this idea, because remember that we said before that John Rawls believed that the fair distribution of valued goods are despecialized. After that, many scholars, especially Edward Soha, he said, wait. Justice is not only social. Justice is also temporal. So the reason because certain communities have now less access to the goods is because they were neglected in the past. We will talk about the color of race. Sorry,
color of law.
The color of law in the future. So do you know what red line district means? Red line means? Okay, we'll talk about later. But Edward Soha said two important things. In the history of justice theory, they were talking mostly about the social component of justice. He said there is also a temporal condition. So the city is not fair, the environment is not fair, the society is not fair because of a temporal thing. But he also said, but also because of spatial thing. So he started talking about spatial justice. And what he called the spatial turn. And he said in his book that happened after 1968 in French May. So he's based, actually all my point about 1968 comes from this book.
Oh, really?
So yeah. So if he said that it's a temporal change, he called that a spatial turn, that we realize that the space, the city, the urban have lots of things to do about justice. And he said that he started discussing about what urban agglomeration means. We'll talk about a lot about that next week when we start talking about the opportunities. But in La Carlota, the most important thing that you realize in that project, if you read well the plans, is connecting opportunities and resources for everybody in order to improve, to create the spaces for agglomeration of opportunity. He said that actually he said, reacting politically in different ways to the event of May 1998 Paris, Lefebvre Foucault says, saw potential for emancipatory power. So it's how we can start providing power to the people. But do you know what is urban agglomeration? I think it's a concept that we have to learn. Do you know what is urban agglomeration? So urban agglomeration basically is one of the main destinations because the World Bank says that we can provide more jobs to the people. They say, and this is a concept by I don't remember the name of the guy, Ivan Turok. He wrote this book for the World Development Bank, and he said that the things that, because the cities are amazing. What is Taylor? Taylor, I will convince you now why the cities are amazing. So the cities are amazing because it's the place where you can exercise more your freedom. Why? Because three concepts: matching, sharing, and learning. He said that you have some skills, and when you have some skills, you have more opportunities to match your skills with others in cities. Because you will find a vibrancy of many things happening that you will find others in order to share. Also, second thing, your skills. You match with others and you share skills in order to create a learning process where you build more knowledge through the interaction of others. So this interaction that happens in the randomness of the city is what makes cities amazing, what makes produce economic improvement in cities. I don't know if you have that experience in the studio. Sometimes you are in your desk and you are working in your project, trying to do your best, and you got stuck. And you decided to walk around and go to the vending machine, and suddenly you meet with others and you start talking about, I don't know, the last season of The Boys or so, whatever thing. And then at that moment, you come with an idea for your project. That happened to you? Or you go for a coffee. Sometimes ideas comes not in the traditional environment where we are isolated. Many times ideas come when you share knowledge with others and you discuss. And that's the reason because the studios are an amazing environment to learn. And that's the reason because we're sharing this class and not doing this class alone, because I'm learning a lot from Robert and you're learning from me.
You're my teacher.
So yeah, we are co-teaching, and so we're learning from others. So sharing is the best place to learn and the best place to create knowledge. And that's the reason because jobs happens more in cities. And that's the reason because cities are amazing. Am I doing good, Taylor? So I'm doing my best, okay? I promised her last class that I will convince her that amazing cities are amazing. But I'm doing my best. Yeah. Oh, okay. So, but urban agglomeration has also setbacks. So this is Saskia Sassen. She said that be careful. Urban agglomeration could be good, as I said before, but also have certain issues. Why? Because global cities is where places are clustered to provide access to these people. But if you are out of that system, if you are not connected to the system of sharing, you have no opportunities to be in the system. And this is how the operating system works. And now we come again with the idea of access. How we can provide access to everybody to this idea. She said that agglomeration creates what she called global cities, cities that are connected to the global economy, but also creates urban inequality, places where people are not connected. So urban agglomerations are good to create jobs, but also could come with lack of access in several moments. So what he said, and this is his Tristaller model of cities, that you have clusters of knowledge, creativity, job production that are subclustered, and sometimes you have areas that are not connected. How we can provide access to everybody is the big is the big question here. So, and this is a transformation of Rawls' idea of distributed justice. So in the space, how we can have fair and valued distribution of goods and opportunities in the city for everybody. Come on, this is your theory. Justice, you have different type of justice. You have, in order to design a city, you have the distributed justice, the way we design. But in order for this to happen, you have to create fairness decision-making, participatory design. We'll talk about that in a couple of weeks. What is week of participation? Like week 6?
We're already talking about it.
Yeah, we're already talking. We're talking already about. And we have restorative justice, which understand that you have to recognize, and this is the most difficult thing for us in architecture, how we can recognize the needs, the loves, the desires, the intentions of everybody when we design. And for me, that's the most difficult thing. How we recognize, and this is your role in P1 today in Studio 6, how you recognize the needs, the interest, the love, the histories, the aspiration of everybody that are in this particular environment, in this case, global, in order to create a restorative justice that inform the way you distribute your programming, your building, and in the city. And finally, I think this is the last book of this session. Is I'm doing my best to define the just cities through the most important books that I believe have been reading about that is Susan Feinstein. He finally said that you need 3 conditions: communicate well your rationality with others, recognize the diversity and the aspiration of everybody, and third, transform that into a space. Caring, yes. How we can do this transformation through projects. These are the 3 conditions to create just cities. So I'm wrapping up, but I invite you to look at these examples because we want you to come with real examples to address the designing for life ideas that Robert was showing you, and the increasing of access that I'm proposing you in order to game the system, which is the main topic of the class. Because we're asking you to present clear examples. I decided to come with one clear example or one compilation clear example, which is the Just City Index from Harvard Grad School of Design. I was really lucky to help building that when I was teaching there. So basically, it's an index that divides design intentions into different strategies. And then these one are divided into different sub-strategies. So in Access, you have trust, tolerance, and respect, for example. So something is a little complicated, it's too much. But that gives you some ideas about how we can understand the city. Is that book called The Pattern Justice? It's basically you know the Christopher Alexander book?
How would we know about that? You never teach us about that.
Yeah, but I believe that in Studio the history and theory too. No. Can you remember the name of the book?
It's called A Pattern Language.
The Pattern Language. I recommend you that book. It's a book about architecture. It's a book about architecture. It's in the middle ground between architecture and urban design.
It's a beautiful book.
It's a beautiful book.
The diagrams.
Yeah, they're
and
beautiful.
the photos.
Yeah. It's a book that I recommend you to read. He provides at least
383.
Ideas about how you can redesign the city and how you can recognize patterns
at different scales.
At different scale, in order to improve or discuss, I would say, the interaction between humans and the urban space. So, inspired in Christopher Alexander, we built the pattern justice, because at the end, what is happening here, the main message here, and this is what we want you to recognize, is that in cities, you have patterns. There are things that are repeated again and again and again and again. So I'm going to give you an example. Every time that you have a dark street, you have more crime. Oh, surprise, this is a pattern. Every time that the front of the building is not opening directly to the street is it's not really safe. Oh, surprise. So you have to start recognizing these patterns So what we are proposing you for Tuesday is that you come with ideas that could be translated into patterns that are replicable to other spaces. So this book, I already have this. Yes, yeah, it is. The book of Christopher Alexander, and then you have this list of ideas that again, if you click this link, guys, you can open the book and be inspired for your.
It's filled with examples.
And it's filled with examples. There are some of them. So actually, it's divided into patterns and ideas, but more important than that, so you have many examples. For example, you have to redesign the way different lanes works to improve pedestrian movement, or you can, and this is also, or you can improve public transportation in order to increase access, or how you can create urban nursery in its places that are abandoned in order to create to provide more access to green spaces, or sometimes how you can actually the book comes with this brilliant idea. This is an app where you can recognize the values of the city, and that app provides you a more accessible understanding of the city, and so on, again and again and again. So these are a lot of examples. If I remember well, I don't remember how many, but there are a lot of examples. I suggest you to take a look at that, and that can inspire you about how you can recognize the increase of access and the designing for the life of the people in cities, and then will help you to select good examples to discuss how we can create projects that improve that help us to improve equity in the system.
So mostly these are diagrams. Sometimes it looks like one of our analysis projects.
Yeah.
But it's almost like we could, like, I'm thinking like a student. Can I look in here for a diagram that appeals to me?
You can.
And then find an example that deals with this diagram?
Yeah. And then after understanding the example, you redo the diagram.
Redo the diagram, but appropriate to that example.
Exactly.
So it might not end up being the same diagram.
It won't be. Or probably you can come with an idea. So you discover that eyes on the street is really important. You understand what eyes on the street means. And then you find an example where eyes on the street is working, and you analyze how this is working.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah. So because at the end, and that's my last slide, is we have to understand that justice is active. It's something that we do. It's not a concept. It's a verb. It's something that we do. We have 5 minutes for the team now.
Yeah.
So this is what we have for you today. So
that was a good one.
Yeah. So
I'm exhausted.
I'm also exhausted. So who is the team? Come to here, please. And just conclude, your role. You have to say what we learned, what we didn't answer today, because probably we have to do better next time. And additionally, you can come with certain suggestions for the analysis. And remember that after that, you have to put everything in this slide. Whatever you already did. Bye.
I think we covered the topic pretty well, especially with the example of the high quality library parks that we covered in the first half. I think we really talked about how our question would like for redevelopment kind of give back and help the displacement of areas, especially with also the schema that we talked about, how it gave back so people felt more safe to go to school, or they were giving back to get jobs and continue to better their lives instead of getting worse.
Okay. My favorite part of the lecture today was when we talked about how us as architects are the ones that change the operating system. We take it into our own hands to fix the problems that are across the world. So that went hand in hand with what we're talking about, and why the fourth answer was not the correct one. We have to fix the problems that are across us to make the world a better place for everybody.
Well, I was gonna say I have a little bit of a critique as of this. Designers, we still don't have the last say in everything. So, but it's our job as designers to be advocates for the communities that we're serving and the communities that we're trying to improve. But it's really, I really don't think it's up to the architect in the end, in my opinion, still. But I think it's definitely important for us to be the advocates.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
Do you think that's a problem?
And I think I do think that's a problem with just bureaucracy and how cities are operated, I guess.
This is a amazing discussion. Thank you. So
Yeah, that's great.
That's great. Yeah.
We'll have to make sure we circle back to that.
Yeah, we have to scroll back to that. Yeah.
Yeah, make sure we circle back to that.
Yeah.
Next week or the week after.
Yeah.
The Bill Bow effect.
So we'll try to address that when we talk about harmony tonight. Really, but this is a very important discussion.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
keep talking about that. What else? Anything
What
else?
That we didn't cover with our question that we also talked about is access and being fair with everything, but not just the good stuff, but also the bad things. And we also talked about how the spaces should be led by the future, not the space everything.
Yeah, it's just about how you approach access, I guess. And that's what we kind of covered, I guess.
Rob?
That's it.
We're joining.
I mean, we can talk about we can talk about the game theory and fits in the dilemma of how gaming the system with how the built environment is the machine for the operating system, and certain policies or like things we push have to be tailored as a negotiation tactic in order for us to push for changes. That's something that's a key talking point that we need to do throughout that we talked about throughout the lecture today. Yeah.
And not get fired from your job.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the challenge.
Yeah, you have to become the boss.
Okay, so
Yeah, I think there's one last thing.
Talk about justice. Talk about revolution.
okay,
You got the rest of this.
we have the rest of this. So guys, you see you Tuesday with your idea. Huh? Yeah. Oh, remember you were showing your doc.
The last slide.